Hi guys, welcome back to Explorer Academy, The Nebula Secret, and today we're going to be starting on Chapter 16. If you have your book, you're going to be following along on page 150. Let's go. Chapter 16. They can't do that. Even on his phone screen, he could see Lonnie's nostrils flare. You have right, you know. Take it easy, I'm not going to jail. A shiver went through him. Was he? Dr. Hightower hadn't said anything about arresting him, but wasn't hacking a crime? Maybe getting expelled from the academy was only the beginning. So what's the plan? Asked Lonnie. Tapping the speakerphone key, he set his phone on the nightstand. My dad's coming to get me. Not that. I meant for fighting this injustice and proving your innocence. I don't know. Dr. Hightower said I could appeal, but she made it sound like I didn't stand much of a chance. So appeal, it's worth it. Cruz, this is what you've always wanted. All summer long, it was academy this, academy that. You can't give up. You were meant to be an explorer. Cruz sighed. Sometimes you can't be who you want to be. Sometimes you have to settle for who you are. That sounded quite wise and mature, he thought. There was a beat, then a grunt. Talk about a load of stinky cheese. Lonnie could always see right through him. It's what he loved about her, and hated. Besides, she said, what you are is pretty awesome. You've been doing great on your missions. Great? He coughed. Have you forgotten how I got Sailor and me killed in the butterfly mission? Have you forgotten how you helped Renshaw when he had his asthma attack? And then right after the illegal loggers, when no one else in your class did, you got bonus points. I got a B on the Orion mission. You got a B plus, and you would have gotten an A if you hadn't stopped to help Emmett when he was seasick. His head felt tight. He was getting a headache. Nobody could give him a headache faster than his best friend. What's your point? My point is, it's not always about the grade. What you did for your teammates was more important than getting a good score. And if your professors can't see that, then they're a bunch of warty fungus heads. She's right. Aunt Marisol was leaning in on the doorway to the guest bedroom. Well, except for the warty fungus head part. Sorry, Dr. Coronado, squeaked Lonnie. You may not be an A-plus student on paper, Cruz, said his aunt. But you're an excellent explorer. I guess there's no harm in telling you now. You're the talk of the faculty. Everyone was quite impressed with you. Monsieur Legrand went on and on about your performance in the ARC, and Brent, Dr. Gabriel, was thrilled that you and Sailor tried something no one else had done on your very first training mission. Professor Benedict said you're an excellent photographer with real potential. See, said Lonnie, you can't give up, Cruz, not yet. I'm with her. Aunt Marisol's eyebrows went up. It's your decision, of course. Unsure, Cruz spun away. The buttercup yellow walls of the bedroom in his aunt's townhouse reminded me of Emmett's contented glasses. The cozy room was decorated with treasures his aunt had picked up on her travels. A stack of antique wooden English steamer trunks engraved with the date 1678, a crown of feathers from one of the tribes of the Amazon River Basin, an Inuit whale baleen basket, a string of colorful Tibetan prayer flags, a shakir from Nigeria. Cruz had looked forward to starting his own treasure collection one day. He picked up the shakir and slid his palm along the blue beading netting that covered the outside of the dried gourd. The rattle instrument made a soft whoosh whoosh sound. Fortis fortuna advent, he murmured before turning back to his aunt. What if I wanted to, just for argument's sake, you know? Fight this injustice and prove your innocence? Shouted Lonnie. Cruz grinned. Yeah, that. What then? Okay, Aunt Marisol rubbed her palms together. We've got some detective work to do. First, we need to review the cave technology logs for those missions of yours that were altered. I'll touch base with the technicians tomorrow and request them so we can see for ourselves exactly what happened. We should also go through the mission videos. He might spot something, like another student tampering with something or acting suspicious. She chapped her chin. The only problem is I don't have time to review the videos tomorrow, and it would need to happen now. I'm in meetings all day when I don't have a class. Is there someone, an explorer on your team, who you could trust to watch the clips? It had to be either Sailor, Brindis, or Renshaw, since Emmett and Dugan were suspects. Renshaw, decided Cruz. He's borrowed my notes enough times, he owes me a favor. Plus, he's a good guy. I'll contact him, and if he agrees, I'll set him up in my office where he won't be disturbed, said the aunt. Once we know what we're dealing with and we have some good evidence on our side, we'll file the appeal. What about me? Asked Lonnie. What can I do? Aunt Marisol took the words right out of Cruz's mouth. Cross your fingers and toes that we find something to save Cruz. On Monday, Cruz returned to the sprawling society campus with Aunt Marisol. It was weird being back there. It had only been a weekend, but he missed it. He missed his room, his teachers, his friends, even Emmett. No longer a student, Cruz was not allowed inside the academy. However, the museum was open to the public. He could hang out there for the day. Pick a civilization, Celtic, Viking, Maya, Roman, whatever catches your eye, and spend a few hours touring the wing, said his aunt, as they parked in the lot behind the administration building. Learn as much as you can about their society and be prepared to give me a full oral report after dinner tonight. She caught his expression. What? You didn't think you were going to get out of learning just because you aren't in class, did you? Being related to a teacher could sure be annoying sometimes. Aunt Marisol grabbed her coffee mug and they locked up the car. Let's meet at 5 at Cool Beans, that coffee shop across the street from the academy. Hopefully, I'll have good news. Okay. With a wave, Cruz walked backward, watching until her yellow raincoat disappeared into the administration building. The museum didn't open until 9, so Cruz waited in the snack bar of the lobby. He spotted 3 small tables tucked into a corner and took a seat at the one closest to the wall and sipped his orange juice. When the museum opened, he was the first person inside. After a stroll through the ancient civilization wing, Cruz settled on the Aztec Empire for his report. Aunt Marisol should like that. Cruz moved from one display to the next, reading the placards that described the ancient art, weapons, clothing, jewelry, and tools of the Aztec people, developed as they built the city of Tenochtitlan, which would later become Mexico City. He was reading a plaque next to the serpent-shaped lip plug made of obsidian when he saw, in the reflection of the glass, someone standing behind him. At first, he thought the person was politely waiting to view the artifact. But when Cruz moved to the next display case, his shadow moved with him. It was a man. His head was tipped down. That's all Cruz could see in the glass. There was no one in the exhibit. Cruz pretended to read the plaque next to the bust of Hernan Cortez, the Spanish conqueror who defended and defeated the Aztec. Cruz had 2 choices. He could veer right and go through the doorway into the next exhibit, or head left and take his chances with an exit door. To make sure he wasn't being paranoid, Cruz walked slowly to the next case. This one held a small tapestry depicting the war between Cortez's troops and the Aztec warriors. He heard the tap of soles against a stone floor. The man was still with him. Now he was worried. Cruz took a couple of deep breaths, then bolted for the exit. He heard someone call his name. Racing down the stairwell, he could hear footsteps above. They matched his own frantic pace. Cruz flung open the door marked L and darted through the atrium. He passed the coffee cart and the info desk and was 10 feet from the main entrance when he saw the man in the snakeskin cowboy boots. He was outside, standing on the steps in front of the museum. Cruz banked right directly into the gift shop. He zipped to the back of the store and hid behind a rack of postcards. He tried to think. Were there 2 men? Or had the one upstairs beaten Cruz to the front? No, he couldn't have made it outside that fast. There had to be 2 of them. Cruz was outnumbered. His heart pumping wildly, Cruz tried to get a grip. He waited inside the gift shop for another 10 minutes. When he dared to peer out the front window, he no longer saw the man in the cowboy boots, but he didn't want to risk it. He might be able to give them the slip if he left out a back door. Cruz hurried across the atrium and into the stairwell. At the bottom of the stairs, he stopped to listen for footsteps. Hearing none, he cracked the basement door and saw the exhibit entrance to the Hall of Mammals. Cruz didn't see either of the men chasing him, but he did spot a group of what looked to be 6th graders. He hurried out to join them as they went from the woolly mammoths of North America wing to the elephants in the African wing. He kept to the outer fringes, his eyes roving, searching every nook and cranny for any sign of trouble. When the kids headed toward the mineral and gem exhibit, Cruz hung back. He peered into the Hall of Dinosaurs. It was empty. There was an exit door at the far end. He estimated that he could be there in less than 30 seconds. Cruz took off, weaving through the ancient skeletons of velociraptors, spinosaurs, and triceratops. He was under the colossal head of a T-Rex when he felt an arm go around him, squeezing his shoulders in a vice-like grip. "Ow, let me go!" he struggled, but the man was much taller and stronger than he was. Cruz caught a glimpse of snakeskin cowboy boots. "Enough games, kid." Cruz was being dragged to the side of the exhibit hall. The man punched through a door marked "Employees Only" and shoved him in a dim hallway. "March," he commanded, thrusting his palm into the small of Cruz's back. Cruz stumbled down the hall 20 feet or so until his hands found only cold concrete on all sides. It was a dead end. There was nowhere for him to go. His captor stepped under the dim glow of a light bulb. Cruz watched him pull a long gray scarf from his neck and stretch it tight in his hands. "You're, Nebula?" Cruz said loudly, hoping someone would hear. So it would seem. "Why are you trying to hurt me?" "Just following orders." Cruz backed up until his spine hit cement. His heart began to pound against his ribs. He knew there was no escape for him this time. "You tried to kill me in Hanalei, didn't you?" With a chuckle, the man gritted his teeth. "Don't worry, I'm a lot better on land." Putting his arms up to defend himself, Cruz started to yell, "Wait!" But the man lunged for him. Thunk! His attacker collapsed at his feet. Cruz lowered his arms. He couldn't believe it. Cowboy Boots was out cold. Next to him stood a lanky man in a lab coat clutching a giant dinosaur bone. "Jericho!" cried Cruz. Jericho Miles tapped the bone against his palm. "These things really come in handy for an emergency." "Am I glad to see you?" Cruz hadn't laid eyes on the synthesis scientist since he'd saved Emmett, Sailor, and him after the gas attack. His legs still wobbly, Cruz stepped over the unconscious man on the floor. "Thanks. If you hadn't come along..." "What are you doing here anyway?" "In the right place at the right time, I guess," said Jericho, steering Cruz back down the corridor. I think he's got a partner," said Cruz. "Shouldn't we call the police?" "We'll handle it." "We?" Two men in black nylon synthesis lab suits appeared out of the shadows. One looked like a professional wrestler. The other was much thinner, yet he was more of the threatening of the two. He held a hypodermic needle. Cruz stiffened. "Yours, partners?" "No," said Jericho. "Easy there, Cruz. I don't know who that guy is or what he wanted, but we're not with him. This is Lars and Maz, two of our lab techs. We're not here to hurt you." Cruz stared at the metal needle inches from his face. "You sure about that?" "We just need a blood sample." "Thanks, but no thanks." "It's not a request," said Jericho. "Look, I can have Maz sit on you, but it would be easier for all of us if you'd cooperate." Cruz didn't move. The larger of the two men came toward him. Lifting a pair of thick hands, Maz grabbed Cruz under his arms and picked him up off the floor. All right, Cruz cried, soaring upward. "You win." Maz turned him to solid ground. "Wise move." Jericho took the needle from Lars. "We'll make this quick, relatively painless." Yanking his arms out of his jacket, Cruz began to roll up his right sleeve. "At least tell me what's going on." "Blood test. All Academy explorers must give blood before they can be cleared to travel." Cruz stiffened. Jericho was lying. None of their professors had said anything about the explorers having to give blood before travel. Tyrion would certainly have mentioned it by now. Plus, international travel required vaccines, which Cruz had already received back home, not blood tests. Something else was going on here. "My boss said you were here this morning and I was to come get a sample. Said you didn't like needles and to bring Lars and Maz along to make sure I got it," explained Jericho. "Your boss forgot to tell you one thing," spit Cruz. "I'm not an explorer anymore. I've been expelled." "What?" "As of yesterday, somebody hacked into the cave software and pinned it on me. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, but it's pretty hard when Nebula's trying to kill me. Then you guys show up." "Nebula?" Do you mean Nebula Pharmaceuticals? As if on cue, Cowboy Boots groaned. A drug company. So Lonnie's research had hit the mark after all. Cruz remembered one of the companies on her list manufactured cold and flu medicine. Yeah, that's right, bluffed Cruz. This guy is with Nebula Pharmaceuticals. You know them? Jericho shook his head, but the furrow between his eyebrows told Cruz differently. Why would Nebula want to harm you? That's what I'm trying to find out, among other things. Look, I know you work for the Synthesis, snapped Cruz, and you still haven't answered my question. Why does the Synthesis want a blood sample from an explorer who is no longer one? Jericho stared at the needle in his grip. He didn't answer. Just get it over with and let me go, said Cruz, thrusting out his arm. He knew something was up, but Jericho wasn't talking. Cruz was tired. He turned his head, steeling himself for the sharp prick. Somehow, I know I'm going to regret this, moaned Jericho. Shoving up the sleeve of his lab coat, he jabbed the needle into the crook of his own arm. He watched the vial fill with maroon liquid. Jericho pulled out the needle and pressed a cotton ball into his elbow. Cowboy Boots moved an arm. He was starting to come to. You better get out of here, Cruz, said Jericho. We'll have this guy arrested, but it won't stop Nebula, I'm afraid. I wish I could help more, but... Thanks, Jericho. You saved my life. Cruz grabbed his jacket. Again. Forget it. Just get out of here. I owe you. Go! Cruz went. Thanks for listening, guys. Next time, when we get started, we'll start with Chapter 17, which is on page 160. Thanks for listening.